Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Jerry Green, the new Executive Director here at Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative, or KVEC. We're so excited to have you guys. We're thrilled so far. We've got Mr. Pack from Floyd County and Ms. Baker, as you guys know really well, from Jenkins Independent. And we're thrilled to have you. I think we have 4 right now on Zoom meeting with us. So we're excited to have you all. Realize from a former job how important each of your roles are, because other than the bus driver, your employees set the tone, and not only set the tone for the day, but sometimes the week and the month and the year for our students in our school districts. And it seems like you guys are in charge of hospitality and trying to make sure everybody feels welcome and everybody feels warm. And we're going to try to make sure that we always do that here at KVEC for each of you. So we're excited about having you. I'm excited about learning from each of you and working with you from this point forward. So just want to say welcome. We hope that you can join with us in person. And I would ask that each of you please check with Mr. Pack and Ms. Baker about how lunch was today and how the breakfast pastries were, so that way that entices each of you to meet in person the next time, okay? Welcome. Look forward to speaking with you and working with you. Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Nice for y'all to host us down here this morning. You all are missing out on some fresh pastries this morning and a good hot coffee. But it's good to be back out and a little bit of normalcy back in. And I know it's all been crazy and still a little bit crazy, but it's looking brighter and better. And like I said, just good to be out and about out of the district for a change. But you know, that's one thing I think we need to start doing is meeting again, so we can, this crazy year, I think we need a do-over. Just forget about this past year, just start with a do-over. One of the things that meeting today is on the procurement bidding. It's that time of year again. And like I said, I'm not real, procurement is not my forte, so to speak. And I know we've got a couple right now that are, Dale, are you going through the procurement right now? Yeah. And I know Melissa is. Rachel, she's not on yet, but I think she's going through it. So you all know what they're expecting right now and what they're wanting. I did see where they had issued some new guidance, I guess, on what the clauses and so forth are to be going forth. I guess they've updated that, but anyway, we got that printed off and looking at that. Is there anything that you all could add to, you know, like I said, I know you're all right in your procurement and how that's going for you and what we need to be looking at with the bids going out this year. Anyone speak to that? Or
I don't have much. I mean, they asked for basically just to put everything in categories, and they voluntarily, or they chose which ones for details. And I turned mine in December, mid-December, and have not heard anything since. So
I'm with Dale. I turned all of my stuff in based upon their categories for the spreadsheet thing that we had to fill out, but I haven't heard anything. So I don't know if there's any adjustments we need to make or something we're not doing. So.
Well, I know Rachel, I talked to her this week and she had gotten, they'd gotten back with her, and I know that's something she was working on this week, was some things that she had to get, more things to get sent in. She was going to join us this morning, but I don't see her on yet. So like I said, it's been a couple of years since I went through my procurement, and I'm letting you all go ahead of me so that everything be in order. So whenever it comes up my turn, I'm on the tail end of that. So whenever my AR comes up, you all have already been through it.
It's something that we're also adding right now, our staff here, and I can't thank them enough and appreciate them for setting this up. Mr. Tanner Brown, Mr. Chad Perry, and also Mr. Jacob Stratton working the Zoom meeting for us on the technical side. but they're going to add into the chat the 2021 or the current bid results for KVEC if you don't have that at your fingertips, and also this year's approved vendors. And as always, it's our goal to make sure that we get those on there for you, and that we add any additional ones that you might be interested in or want to have for the future. So just wanted to share that as well.
Also on our bid, I know we can do extensions on the clean and sanitize, fresh produce, pest control, and the cleaning supplies. So that's one thing we could look at. I think I'm satisfied with the service. Only problem I had was I did try to order the fresh produce. And I had some problems with that. I don't know if it's miscommunication on both parts, but that's just, you know, like I said, it could have been just miscommunication, but was going to do a drive-through produce the day before. I thought I was getting my produce, and come to find out, he said, no, I hadn't ordered it, and I thought I had, but anyway. So I ended up having to get some local right around home produce stands to help me out, but we got it done and the kids enjoyed it. So that was the main thing. But other than that, I'm satisfied with doing the extensions on the clean and sanitize, the pest control, cleaning supplies.
Okay, Susan, hey, if we're gonna do extensions, I think that we are required to actually do evaluations of the vendors, and in our evaluation, have it recommend that we extend the bid on there, because I think that is like our burden to prove that the vendors are meeting our needs and that kind of stuff. So we have to do those evaluations.
Is that something we need to do at the district level, or something we do at the KVEC level?
I think each district needs to do one. And then we would compile them at the KVEC level to just make sure that everybody is on board with a renewal, that I may be getting great service and Dale, you may be getting terrible service. So it would be specific by district. And then I guess we need a form possibly for the evaluation. And at the end of it, just does your district recommend that we extend the bid for the upcoming school year?
That's something we could definitely do then.
Right.
Yeah, I think we need to do that with all of our vendors we're potentially going to extend with. Because they're asking on my side that I found in my procurement review for a lot of that kind of stuff, that we are holding our vendors accountable, that we are evaluating, that we are price checking, that kind of stuff.
Hey, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I was just going to speak a little bit about my procurement review, because I guess I had it year before last, and I guess I probably spoke to some of you all individually. But during my review, we had a lot of issues. I had to talk to Jeff Hawkins a lot. He had to do a lot of corrections with a lot of clauses that weren't in our bids. Things like that, cost analysis. They asked for things like that from KVEC. There were a lot of things with our bigger bids that they had not included in their contract. So just going forward, I know you all had said that maybe some clauses had changed and things like that, but I did have a lot of issues with things like that from KVEC that Jeff had corrected. And then they also asked for evaluations on my procurement review for vendors as well. And I know a lot of our districts don't use a lot of the same vendors. For example, I had spoke to Mr. Green about this before, like with our milk company. I really don't have a lot of choice who we use, because the other companies may strike out my district. Same way with bread and things like that. But they did ask for a lot of things that, wasn't being done, I guess, on the co-op end of it when I was going through my procurement review. So we just want to make sure that all that's being done going forward. So.
Yeah, I think that was one of the papers I gave. I think there was a detailed list of the clauses they're wanting in there. I think they just had, might have been the one in February that they just updated at the SCN level. So Mr. Green does have that. I printed it off from their website, so he's got those clauses now that need to be in there.
Thank you, though. And also there was a concern from Ms. Reese from Ashland Independent regarding pest control on the chat question.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that.
No, that's okay. It was on the chat, said that they were very unhappy with Ashland Independent with the pest control provider services.
See, that's one thing we need to do then is like Melissa said, is do those evaluations. And we may need to look at that and not do an extension then. So that's one thing, Melissa, thanks for bringing that up. And that way we can do the evaluations and look and see if the services.
And something also, please forgive me for not sharing this earlier. We're also recording this meeting. So if any of the food service directors you're aware of couldn't meet virtually or obviously here in person today, we'll have this recorded and the recording at the holler.org. So that way anyone can go to the Holler website and view the meeting.
Could we get some type of form for the evaluation? Where all of us could do the same evaluation form and maybe send it in or bring it to the next meeting or it can be compiled?
I had an actual evaluation form that I did, and I was thinking that came from KVEC, but I'm not really sure. I think Susan, did you send us out an evaluation form before? It was like, it looked like little bubble circles that you would just fill in, like, that you're very happy or I agree. It wasn't, it was just like a one pager, I think. I think Susan had sent that to us maybe before. Did we do that before?
I can't remember that, but that ain't to say 2 years ago I didn't do that.
Yeah, and I'm just going on because I had to send that in. They asked for mine specifically, and it was just at the district level. It wasn't like, with the co-op. So I had to do one of those for my, for Gordon Food Service, and then my milk and my bread as well, and send those in because they did want to see that we had evaluated at the district level.
Tabitha, do you think you still have that form?
Yeah, I was just looking actually through my folders right now to see if I can find that. And if I do, I'll send it to, want me to just send it to Susan or Mr. Green and he can disperse it, either one. I have it somewhere. You should see my procurement review folder. I mean, they're like, well, you all are going through it. So
yeah. If you have a form, maybe send it to Susan and we can brainstorm and add anything to it we think we need to have added to it, and then get that dispersed to all the directors that utilize these bids and try to get something back from everybody.
Yeah, I was just looking at last year when we did our bid opening, and it was in May. So we've got, this month and then next month we can meet then and go over there and decide if we want to put that out, what I'm saying, go over the evaluations and see if we want to extend or not extend and go back out for bid on some of it. So that'd be good. So we've got time to do that.
Did you see the question on the pest control there?
Yeah, that's what I said. We'll look at that and see. I'm not sure, looking back, I'm not sure who else bid besides Bluegrass. So we'd have to look at that and see and go over the evaluations. And
we have our own pest control hired for the district, so we don't use the pest
so
control.
food service don't do your, yeah. So I said, I don't remember who else did it. And that's another problem like Tab spoke to earlier, is like on the milk bid, Borden's is the only one that'll bid Jenkins. I mean, everybody else strikes us out, so.
That's me, the only one I get, United Dairy, which I'm satisfied with them, but that's the only bid I ever get.
They've sent it out they send it out, but, and that's the thing, you're looking, some districts may have Borden, and then other districts may have, well, it used to be Southern Bell, I don't even know what they are now anymore, they've changed the names.
I understand several of the food service directors are envious of you guys because you can get the milk in the bottles.
Yeah, we have the little bottles, and They've raised the price on us a little bit this last bid, because they knew they were the only ones gonna bid, so it went up a little bit, but I'd still rather pay a little bit more and get the bottles, because the kids like it better, it's so much easier to open and tastes better.
Dale, do you get the milk in the bottles from Borden's?
United Dairy,
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say, like, I even told Borden's that I would go out to bid as a separate district where we buy so much, if they would provide bottles for me, and they said they didn't bottle, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's like one year, they brought us bottled milk, said they did me a favor and give the kids bottled milk. Well, honey, it didn't do me no favors. They were going to the principal on me, you know, we want this milk, and so I called them and they're like, we don't even bottle that. And I'm like, well, how did we get it if you don't bottle it?
It's because they do it in West Virginia, and they don't do it for Kentucky, and when they run short, we sometimes, they did us that way, because I inquired about it.
I told the milkman the next time it happened, I was going to give his cell phone number to all the kids to call him. We about had a ride. I'm telling you, every time I go in the cafeteria, it was like, we want that bottle of milk. And it was like, I'm sorry. Blame the milkman.
But you can tell the difference in the participation in it.
yeah, it's also, it's so much easier for the kindergarten and first graders and stuff like that, because the other milk cartons are so hard for a little kid to open. And these just twist off, and you know, they can usually twist them off a lot easier. They can fold that milk carton apart.
I can't even open those milk cartons.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you this. When are we gonna send the bids out for advertisement? Which month?
Probably April, late
Yeah,
April.
It would be next month, so we
Yeah.
could open them in May.
Yeah.
I will tell you what I was told by the milk company about 2 or 3 years ago. And it may be that that's when we need to do it. But you know, KEDC always bids much later. In fact, I think they bid a little bit late, because I don't know that they have their new contracts in July, and we always go, you know, July 1 through June 30. But the milk company told me that the earlier we bid, the higher our prices are, because they're not getting the, you know, they're not for sure what they're going to have to pay, because the earlier in the year, they don't know what the market's looking like. So they talked like by us going out to bid in April, you know, in May, April or May, that we would be charged higher than if we went out to bid later in, you know, in the year. And I mean, he could have, you know, it could have just been for that year, but that was just something that I kind of noted in my mind when he told us that.
I have no clue.
I just didn't know if anybody had ever been told that, or if, I mean, he may have just been messing with me, but that, you know, that was what he told me, because I was fussy. I'll tell you how it come about. I was fussy about our milk prices compared to the prices of KEDC, because they were less. And it could be because KEDC has a lot of those school districts that aren't as rural as a lot of our school districts about, you know, transportation and delivery. But that was his response to me, was they had a cheaper price than we did, because they bid later in the year and they knew more about the market price of the product.
I don't mind at all to call and see if that would be an option, so that way I can share the information with you at your next meeting. Excuse me, and I'll contact each of the companies that do bid milk services in the area, and I'll also stress each of your preferences, if possible, for the opportunity to receive the milk in the bottles.
That'd be super. Thank you.
KUDC's bids do run August 1st through July 31st. So they are going out a little later than we are.
Do you all, have you considered if there's going to be any difference where virtually every school district's going to be in session this summer, and if that's going to have any impact on the services that you would like from the bid list, because with the pandemic and the catch-up or the acceleration, the superintendents are calling it, I think most school districts are going to be in session an additional 6 to 8 weeks. So I didn't know how that was going to impact food service directors and providing meals.
We normally do summer feeding anyway, so it probably, our participation may be up more if we've got those coming in, but like I said, we usually feed through the summer anyway.
Okay.
So we feed through the summer anyway, so it'll be up some, but not, nothing to amount to anything, I don't think.
Right.
Or what we normally do.
So we'll look at next month then, looking at the bids and going forward and doing our evaluations. So do we want to go ahead and get those evaluations and get that sent out, and then when everybody comes back in April, we can have our evaluations done on these companies? That way we would know.
Susan,
Yes.
Susan, I was just gonna say that I sent you and Melissa an email. I went straight to CNEPS because I couldn't find it. I'll have to dig for blank ones and all my folders online, but I went to CNEPS and I pulled off you all what I had attached. It's just I went to you and Melissa, and you all can kind of out a picture of it real quick and send it. If it's just a 1-page evaluation form. And I just sent another one. Maybe it's a little bit clearer and easier for you all to read. And all it's got on it, we just kind of made it district specific. So it asked for the vendor name, and then there was acceptable or not acceptable. And then it had a place for comments for each vendor, whether it's food, milk, bread, general supplies, chemicals, whatever. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was sufficient. What I sent in to them, that was fine. They just wanted to see that we had actually evaluated.
Yeah, that looks, yeah. And then you had your comments then what your problems
Right.
were. Yeah. That looks good. Did you get it, Melissa?
I did, and I think it does look good. We may tag something on there, Susan, that just ask, would you recommend we extend the current contract, or offer an extension of the current contract on there to the vendors that that's an option for. Thanks, Tabitha.
You're welcome.
If there's any other questions or discussions about the bids then?
Would you all want any of the vendors to come in with samples next month and for us to set that up for you guys?
Okay, we can do that. Sally Palmer will be here in a bit with GFS. She's our sales rep with GFS. And that's something that normally we do set up, is like at each meeting with and she can help with that too, is set up, and we have different vendors who will come in and do samples, and mostly that is like just different manufacturers' food that we buy our food, like through GFS, that type of thing.
Okay. And I would encourage all food service directors, if there's specific vendors that you would love to have on the list, please contact them and myself, and I'll call them or I'll contact them to try to get additional vendors on here for you. I do know that the only ones that's been really adamant with me is Centos. They're dying to get on this bid list for you, and I think they offer multiple services.
Yeah. That'd be the more we have, the better it is. Something I have a problem with, and I'm not sure if this is something that we will want to bid as KVIC or whatever, is like refrigeration, getting refrigeration done. I just have to hit and miss whoever I can find to do it.
To repair?
Yeah, to repair, to come out and look at my coolers, or if I've got a freezer down, I don't have anybody, I'll call whoever I can find, or I'll get up with our maintenance and say, hey, I've got a freezer down, and they'll look, and if it's something they can't do, then we have to call around and try to find somebody to come out and fix it. And if you're in a bind, that's a problem. I don't know if anybody else has in district, their own.
I've got mine.
Hey, Susan, I have a company, because I had the same issue, which I have my own guy who does most of that work for us, but there's times whenever he can't, like you say, whenever he can't handle it. But I'll get the name of the company. When we had that fire in our freezer at Elkhorn, and the whole freezer had to just be redone. I mean, and it was brand new. I couldn't find anybody. Like Breath at Mechanical is the only one I knew to call, and they just won't respond to my calls. And I guess they're just busy, and because we do have our own guy, we're not like a consistent customer to them. I can't remember the name of this company, but they were excellent. The people they sent out to work was excellent. They're out of Lexington. They really wanted to do periodic maintenance with our all of our schools, and they could do it 1 time or 2 times a year. They come out and do a lot of different things. And if you don't have somebody who does those things, that might be something that I could get the information and give to Mr. Green, and he could see if they wanted to bid, to do work for anybody like that, or that would give districts that don't have someone the option to possibly have that periodic maintenance. Plus, if you're doing that with them, then they're going to come out for you more quickly, I think. In fact, I'm getting ready to go out to bid for several freezers to be replaced in my district, and certainly whoever wins the bid will win the bid, but I would be very excited if they do win the bid, because their work was so good. It was far better than the people that these companies contracted to initially put in the freezer, because come to find out, I couldn't get any litigation started because of COVID, but really they should have had to reimburse my program for all the money to fix that freezer, because their installation is what caused the fire. But it was difficult to prove, and COVID came along, and then we weren't able to litigate, but we should have litigated. So I'll get that information. I'll just email it to you and Mr. Green both, and then that way you will have it in the meantime if you have an emergency. And then I don't know if they would want to bid, but Mr. Green could contact them, but they were a really good group.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. We will.
And that's the thing, we would have that option, if we bid it out, maybe we could, like you said, I mean, I've used Breath in the past, like you said, like you call them, and if they could come, they could come. If they can't, then you're calling around.
The one guy retired, and since he retired, we don't have much luck with him either.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing about it is too, is like where KVIC, if we would add those things to the bid, a lot of times, even if we just had to get quotes, if they're on bid, we wouldn't be, and it's a service, we wouldn't be having to do anything else. In fact, we probably wouldn't even have to get a quote. If they were on our bid and an approved bidder, which I know services we can do anyway, but if you wanted that maintenance or other things, it would just save us so much the entire year, because we would already have them on our approved bid list. Yeah. Or anybody else who'd want to bid. It wouldn't just have to be them. I just don't know. I'm like you. I don't know if I didn't know anybody to call. I got those numbers of that place from, I believe, Joby and Associates, where they had designed a kitchen for us, and they didn't sell equipment, and they didn't try to be competitive for other things like maybe some other companies. So I called them and talked with Brian there, and he was the one who gave me a list of some people to call, and those were the people who were responsive.
I was just going to say real quick, every time I have a freezer or a cooler issue or something like that, I just always document it as an emergency purchase. And when I was going through their procurement review, they didn't ask for any kind of anything about that, as long as I said it was an emergency. And I have to say, of course, Breath Mechanical is right here in my home county. So if I call them at 5 o'clock in the morning, because I know the owner pretty well, I mean, he'll come out to my school, immediately, or send someone. So, I mean, they've done a lot of work for us, but just anytime something like that happens, like I said, I'll just always document it as an emergency purchase. So.
Tabitha, do you think that if we were to go out to bid, that they might want to be on the list as well? You could speak with the owner, because it's my understanding, when I look at KEDC's list, they have multiple vendors of the same things when it comes to things like that. And then maybe if they knew that our group as a whole were interested, that might encourage them for some of us that, just don't use them as often as others.
Yeah, I can definitely mention it to him. Like I said, I couldn't say anything bad about them, but I mean, it's so convenient for them here, because that's where their company's at. So they've always came to me. They've drove to Lexington to pick up parts the same day. They've, if I have freezer or something go down, I mean, that's, they know I need it. Like I'm like constantly, if they stay there till 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night getting it fixed. I mean, I can't say anything bad about them. So they are extremely, extremely busy though. I do know that. So
CPS does a lot of our heating and cooling in our district, and they do also work on freezers. I've had to call them in on the weekend and stuff, and they're, like Tabitha said, they came out, in the middle of the night, pretty much and worked on one.
Where are they based at, Dale?
I'd have to look. I'm not really sure, but they do a ton of work in our district for just the heating and cooling side. But now I had them price a freezer for me, and they were high. But
well, that was my thought. Is they came out and priced some things in our district, and so while they were there, our maintenance director, he brought them up to look at my freezer. And they just gave me such a huge number when I had that fire that I didn't go with them, but I do hear they do good work.
I just bid out some freezers, and Douglas Equipment was the lowest response I got. I've got 7 outdoor freezers coming that I'm putting at some of my schools, but I can share the people that responded in case you're in need of those kind of services.
I'm getting ready to go out to bid for freezers, and I would be interested to see who, because I will send my bids to those companies that responded to you as well. Just because I don't hardly know who to send my bids to for freezers much. That would be great. If you want to share your bids with me too, I'm writing those right now, and I'd like, if you could share even just one so I could compare to what I have, that'd be super.
Okay, I'll holler at you.
Thanks, Dale.
All right.
we had to get an outdoor freezer last year as well, and C&T Design actually got the bid for that. There's someone I don't really think about, to do actual outdoor freezers and things, but Cameron, who I used to work with, my rep, he's not there anymore, and there's a new guy, and of course C&T, and then I think Breathitt Mechanical actually installs a lot of their equipment, so I think they kind of work together. It was funny because I actually reached out to another company. There's a new company here in town to try to get quotes on freezers and installation, and the response I got back from the owner was, well, why should we even put in a bid, because we're not going to get anything. Breathitt Mechanical does everything there. So, I mean, that was kind of the attitude they had about it, and they didn't even submit a quote or anything. So I thought that was pretty sad, because I guess a lot of people here, they feel like there is no competition. They've always got all the business around here, and they didn't even try. So I hated it because it does make it easier, and the price is better when they feel like there's competition. But they just had a terrible response. I just really couldn't believe it. So
C&T put an outdoor freezer in for us year before last. Well, they had gotten the bid. It was through the district, but I mean, they did a good job. And usually they use Breathitt, is who C&T has used in my district when they win the bid, and they've done that multiple times. But I think that, I don't know, for some reason, I think that Elliott did it. I didn't have anything to do with that one because it was in a district bid. So, but I think that maybe for some reason Elliott did it.
Okay, so we'll just do the bids next month, meet on that. We'll get that form sent out. Everybody can do that and bring it in the April meeting. So is there anything else on the bid and procurement, anybody? Moving on, just open discussion, anything anybody needs to talk about, or I think we need to talk about our future meetings if we still want to do. In the past, we've done the third Thursday of the month was when we normally did it. If that's still sitting well with everyone, or anyone has conflicts and we need to change it.
That's still fine with me.
Me too.
And again, we would love to host you here at KVEC. We'll make sure that we provide lunch for you each time, and we'll try it again. Again, as I mentioned earlier, to begin the meeting, we'll try to make sure that we always welcome you guys and are as hospitable to each of you as you are your staff and your students. So we want to make sure we extend a warm welcome to you each time, and we try to serve you guys just like you do your students and your staff.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I just appreciate seeing the large room, and I probably would have driven down, but lots of times we were delegated to a room where we were so much on top of each other. And I'm sure, that was just, it was because everything was going on. I don't mean anything bad. I'm not saying anything bad, but so I didn't know about the room size and what the circumstances were going to be. And really, I haven't traveled to anything yet. So, I see that there's plenty of room to spread out there, even if we were all there that's on Zoom today. So I think that would be good under our current circumstances anyway.
Right. Well, thank you. We can expand it to double the size of this capacity as well. And like we mentioned earlier, I know that you guys have almost got cabin fever right now from dealing with the pandemic and wanting to get out and see each other's faces and socialize. And we'll try to make sure that we have the vendors and the samples here for you. And if you can think of any additional vendors that you'd like to have added to the list, please contact them, and also let me know, and I'll try to make sure that they have the opportunity to complete the procurement or the bid packages, and we try to get them on here so that they can provide services to each of you.
Sounds good. So we'll just plan then for the third Thursday of the month, 10 o'clock here at KVEC then.
Right. And we'll, going forward, we'll also try to offer all of our meetings, both virtual and in person, for those that can't make it here for any reason. And besides that, we'll also save them the recorded versions of your meetings on the Holler website. So that way, if you're for whatever reason tied up out that day when it's, and you can't even make the meeting virtually, that you could watch it at your convenience. So we just want to try to make it as available and as convenient as possible to each of you.
Yeah, and if there's anything that you want put on the meetings, discuss something, that you're going through that you need added to, any kind of trainings that you can think of that might be beneficial, open to suggestions.
Let me just ask, is anybody besides myself up for admin review next year?
I am.
Me too.
Okay, so, I know we don't want to spend a whole long time discussing it, so everybody else doesn't have to listen to it, but like if we could even Zoom with each other. I know I have so many concerns, because just like you all, because one, we don't know how we're going to be reauthorized, and two, we haven't been doing NSLP for an entire year, which really is like a year and a half in school world when you count, summer meals being dealt with all this time, and getting their students and their teachers trained. And then I don't know if you guys attended that Zoom of those other meetings with KSNA and with KEDC, but I attended a couple of those, and they were talking about the waivers extending only till school started. But then I know, like, our district is still wanting to do possibly a virtual high school, and I'm not even sure that we'll be able to have meals for them. So, like, if you guys know how you're going to handle it, if we could just talk together, maybe privately and not disturb the group, I would love for us to work together because I just think that the challenge of admin review this year, is going to be monumental, getting everybody back to the NSF meal pattern and everything. And it's almost to me like we need to retrain our staff. So if we could work on some kind of trainings that we might use together, then that would be really helpful. We wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel.
I know they've extended the summer meals through September. Are you planning, when you go back in August, the new school year, are you going to continue with summer up until September, or are you going to go back to National School Lunch?
Well,
I think you can. I think once the regular school year starts, the waivers end.
that's correct, Melissa. That's what I had understood. When your school year begins, even
Okay.
though, and I think they just did September 20 because of everybody's start dates being different. And also, federal programs are October 1 through September 30. And so, so that was just a good stopping point for them. But you have to go back to whatever form. But Lauren did say in that one meeting that there's still conversation about what it's going to look like for next year. So, it could change, but for right now, she said, whenever your school year starts, it's NSLP. Is that what?
I'm sorry, Lisa. I seen where Lena put in the chat that April is when we should hear more on the USDA waivers. They were discussed in length at LAC last week, and they're attempting to extend waivers past September. So we probably won't know anything till August.
Yeah, that's when school starts. I
think that's exactly when we'll find something out again. It'll be just like this past year. We've got a plan that we're getting ready to start the next day, and then it changes that night. So I do look for this upcoming school year to be exactly the same. I did have some conversation with KDE about reviews next year, and they're not even going to attempt to do any site visits, from my understanding, until the second half of the school year, because they know that once we transition back to National School Lunch, our staff is going to forget everything they know. We are going to start over. So, because right now we're feeding out of every door and window we can push a meal out.
We are too.
So
my staff's not going to have a clue what offer versus serve even is.
Well, half of my staff is new, so they summer feeding's all they've known. That, like you said, pushing it out a bus door.
If we don't have any further guidance and school starts, whenever it starts in Pike County, I will start with NSLP no matter what. Like, if we have what I'm saying? I mean, even if we could do summer school meals, until they tell me that, that's going to be extended throughout the school year, since I'm up for admin review. If I weren't up for admin review, I would stick with that summer just as long as I could. But being up for a review, I won't start under summer meals, because
I think we've all gotten good at flying by the seat of our pants. So.
We have.
Well, that's, how it is. The guidance is not really, they send it out there, and the state will be a little bit different than what USDA says. Mm-hmm. They've got to tweak it their way, and then we don't get real guidance. It's kind of like procurement. I'm sorry, they just do not, they put that out there, but they won't do a training on it. I mean, they've changed things, and the last training we had was here at KVEC when Valerie Crouch came up, and that's been, what, 6 or 8 years ago, probably?
I think it was probably at least 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And that KSNA meeting, that when I was listening to it, you were talking about procurement, and they basically said, because of that procurement waiver that we have right now, that even, let's just say you couldn't get milk this week, you could procure milk from your local stores. I mean, they talk like at that meeting, and I mean, Lauren and Kathy Gallagher were both there, and they never said nay. They just, I mean, it was almost like, yes, procure, but they understood our circumstances, and you just have to do what you have to do to get your supplies. And I don't know how you guys have had it, but we have had it terrible in Pike County. about getting food. We can't get, I mean, like we have to call GFS and especially when we were all virtual. And so I might need 500 cases each week of things. And they would just tell me no. I mean, no.
We get our weekly deliveries after Pike County, so you know I'm not getting everything. Because you take it always.
Yeah, exactly. I get my deliveries on Thursday, so.
Mine's Friday.
Yeah, well, you're even worse off than I am. I've even ordered from Sam's Club. I just put it down as it was out and just have it delivered in from Sam's because.
I don't think you'll get in trouble for it. I mean, we all are so careful about procurement, and I know everybody that's on this call, because we've all worked together so long. I mean, we always go by the book, and we use our KVEC procurement, we use HPS, and you know, I just wonder if HPS, which I don't think that I'm 90% out of using other, you know, other things, but you know, when we're not, if we get more than, you know, 10% of our things from other places, technically we're supposed to lose all those, you know, incentives that we get. I mean, they've not mentioned it. I'm surely not going to, but I just wonder, am I going to end up out of compliance with that 10, you know, with saying I won't get more than 10%.
Yeah.
And I like my, you know, I like my incentives, and I'm sure you guys do too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that pretty much pays for my membership, my HPS membership.
We have the same issue with fresh fruit and vegetable, Lena. We have to basically just get what they have available and make it work. We can't, you know, it's not a matter of us giving everybody, you know, apples the same week, or we just have to mix it up. It's to be able to get something for the kids.
Are you guys in session 5 days a week now with a choice, Dale? Or are you still out of session? What are you doing in Floyd County?
Monday, this coming Monday, we go back to 4 days per week.
What's your one day out virtual?
Friday.
Ours is Wednesday. We're on that Monday, Tuesday off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday thing.
Yeah, we do. We're doing Monday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday right now with what Group A, and then Wednesday, Thursday with Group B, off on Friday. But this coming Monday, our district's switching to 4 days, Monday through Thursday, with Friday for planning and virtual.
So Ashland Independence, 5 days per week since October. Full steam ahead since January again.
We're 4 days a week right now with all of our kids. We did a hybrid schedule up through February, and then in March we started 4 days a week with all of our kids. Wednesday's our day off, and starting the first full week of April, we're going 5 days a week.
Do you have a virtual option for your families, Melissa?
Yes, we do have a continued virtual options for families that wish to participate in that. But right now at 4 days a week, we're back to 70, I think it's 76% of our kids are back in person in our buildings.
Are you feeding your virtual children?
We offer pickup meals daily, because I'm fixing food daily anyways. So we offer pick up every day.
Right now we're doing virtual meals at our high schools for all virtual students. You know, they can go to the high school of their area, but it's really hard. That the elementary schools are even worse, and that's why we're not. But we do probably about 2,200 students every Wednesday between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. while we're not in session. But my high school people are having to get those meals ready all through the week, you know, all through the week while they're feeding the kids. And the elementary kids were dealing with Head Start was like a crazy different schedule. They just couldn't deal with it. So I wonder what other districts were doing, because I had a parent who called the state and complained on us because they said that we missed some virtual days. So like when we switched over to, we did miss 3 days that we didn't offer meals to virtual students while we were switching over, so we could try to keep up with like not giving double meals out to see who was coming on site and try to get some type of numbers and list of students and stuff. And she didn't call the district, she just called the state on me, and said that we didn't feed her kids. But I will say, the state did tell them that we didn't have to.
Well, yeah, it's our option.
So they were supportive, which was good. But they did ask me to call her back, and she just basically told me, I told her which dates that we had done, and she basically told me that I was a liar. So you know how that goes, but I'm used to dealing with people like that. And so I made a lot nicer than I felt. But anyway, I just wondered if any of you guys were doing those virtual pickups still.
We're doing, we're back to school 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and they have the option of coming in person or doing virtual. We're probably only about 50% in person. So on Fridays is our day. It's all virtual, and so we do the bus delivery still yet on Fridays and just take out 7 meals. And to be honest, we just take it out on the bus, and what kids pick up, whether they've been in school or not, we go ahead and feed. Because we're going to take out for the 3 days, and we tried to I've got the list of all my kids and the stops, and we could go through and pick out and say, yes, this kid was in school and they get a 3-day meal, or this kid is all virtual and gets 7-day meals. Well, when you're on a bus and it's just too hard for the staff to try to look at the list and say, yes, this kid, and especially if you've got like your high school kid who in a family is coming, and then his sibling is in elementary and he don't come, then that kid's going to get 7 meals and the other kid's going to get 3 meals, and they don't, sometimes understand. So we just go ahead, and whoever takes, we do 7 meals on the bus, and whoever takes it, takes it. It's just too hard to try to decipher.
I tried to do the weekends, but I couldn't get enough food to do them.
Yeah.
Like for my pickups to do 7 days, but I just couldn't get enough. I work constantly with GFS. I don't know I can't remember who that person was, but Ryan is their person now, and I don't know if you guys have Ryan, but I will say this, we just have to contact Ryan constantly, and he's actually good. He will respond immediately. He'll call you back. You can talk to him on the phone. So if you're having issues with GFS, Dale, and you don't call him, you might really call him, because he will tell you, in advance. And I usually try to call him 2 or 3 weeks out, for our virtual stuff. And then I don't call him about our on-site stuff so much. And we do get a few markouts there, but he'll fix our markouts each day if you tell him.
Yeah, they've been pretty good about it. We're doing something similar to what you're all doing, I'm sure, as far as feeding. We send, right now with the 2-day and 2-day kids, the group that leaves Tuesday takes 3 days of meals with them when they leave. The group that leaves Thursday, we send them 3 days of meals. And then every Tuesday from about 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening, we send out our virtual kids, and any kid 1 through 18, we'll send out 10 meals a day from all of our schools to those kids and parents that come by and pick them up. So it's very similar to what I'm sure most of you are doing.
And two, Lisa, that is one reason that I do order a few things from Sam's, kind of like the small ravioli, because GFS has that, but it's like triple price. I mean, just the small can of ravioli is like $2.25, whereas you can get it for 89 cents from Sam's. So that's what I done. I just done a price comparison. So I do stuff like that, because I want some shelf-stable stuff, because when you're sending out 7 meals, and especially now with them getting all those food stamps, or SNAP, whatever, they just don't have the space. So we try to do some shelf-stable things, and GFS just don't have a lot of that. So I do, and then I do send like the 15-ounce cans of green beans, which that's like 3 days for per child. I know we're not supposed to really do the bulk, but like I said, when you're on a bus, it's kind of.
I mean, you could do bulk. I better hope that I can do bulk, because bulk is, I guess in a way, it is a unitized meal, but it's all bulk, because when I send out meals for 5 days, like for instance, it would be 5 hamburger patties, 8 pack of buns. I'm not separating them because you can give extra as long as you give enough. We take, usually every week we take a frozen potato product, whether it's tots, wedges, fries, whatever. And we do you know how they come in a 5-pound bag? So we do 2.5 pounds and it fits in a gallon baggie perfectly. So we give them a baggie, 2.5 pounds of fries, and then we'll give them, 5 fresh fruit, and we'll give them milk. And then for breakfast, we do usually 5 cereal, 5 juice, and 5 milk. And then I started working with the milk company. When we were all virtual, we were getting like gallons of milk. But when we went back to school, we needed cartons. And so we're working with them now because, they don't have the time. And so right now they're going to give us cartons and half gallons. And if you'll ask them and give them a heads up, if you're with Borden's, they'll even do you a half gallon of white and a half gallon of chocolate if you want to give them. That's, if you want to give them that. So that's what they get from us most weeks. Not hamburgers every week. And then we'll go to hot dogs. Then we'll go to pizza. We used to do corn dogs. They told us we couldn't order corn dogs anymore. And then like one week when we were all virtual, we bought these cups like they use at the, it's through GFS, and they're really good cups. They go from the freezer to the microwave even if you wanted to, and they've got a lid, and we made chili, and we sent like 5 days worth of homemade chili home frozen. And what my health department said is if it's pre-cooked, you can send it home frozen. Because, of course we want them to heat it to temperature and we send directions, but worst case scenario, if it's been pre-cooked and it's not reheated correctly, they're not going to get ill from it.
Yeah.
So we just send home frozen things. Everything like that, we send home frozen.
So you send out, you said like 5 so you're sending out a hamburger per child for each day?
Yeah, so like if you had 3 kids and you pulled up to my curbside and you got virtual, you would get 15 hamburger patties, 3 packs of buns. So we tried varying what they were going to get each day, you know what I'm saying? So like we tried to give them 1 hot dog, 1 hamburger. We just couldn't handle the volume because when we were all virtual, we'll run anywhere from serving 5,800 to 6,200 students a week. And we'll do it in about 4 or 5 hours. And we just can't, we make it up in advance. I don't mean that, but we just couldn't store it and everything. So we went to doing the same thing. And quite honestly, probably it was better for our families because the truth be told, if you went and picked that stuff up, you don't want to fix a hot dog today and a sandwich tomorrow or whatever. If you just got hamburgers, you could just have hamburgers tonight if that's what you want. And then if they decided to do them daily, certainly they could. But I think, we figure, and I think that really helped our participation when we went to that. We've sent home frozen chicken legs, and I had so much fajita chicken one time I couldn't do anything with it. And I bagged it home and sent it home with cheese and chips. And I've tried to use all my commodities because it's been told what you might get in Pike County. We just couldn't get it. And I'm sure that you guys are having the same issues. It doesn't matter what size you are. You still have to deal with the number of workers and the number of children you have and what you can get. But, and then I'm going to try to send home for spring break, but I'm going to do 10 days, and I'll count the weekends that time so that I can get a little bit of extra money, which I'm getting ready to have to spend a bunch. So I don't know how you all are doing. I hope you all are doing well because we're doing pretty well in Pike County right now. And if I don't get this money spent, I'm not going to have a job. I think they're going to make me go.
We've ordered some sealing machines to make like our own fruit cups and our own dinners and stuff. And I've got them coming in for 7 schools, and we're going to try to make our own frozen meals for this virtual, because I think virtual is here to stay. I don't see all the kids coming back next year, and we're still going to provide those kids meals. So my plan is to take those sealing machines, and as our cooks make the meals each day, we can take the leftovers or make extra and go ahead and make the meals up. And the machine that I've ordered, it's a microwave, it has microwavable containers and the microwavable film. And that way we can take the extra meals, we can store them in the freezer. And on our pickup days, we can just hand out frozen meals for like 4 days, and then, a warm meal for the day they're picking it up. But that way, the kids can take them home and they can eat them as they need them.
I think that is a wonderful idea. And I looked at some of those. I saw them advertised, but I've never seen them used. But I just wonder about manpower to seal the number of meals I'd have to have. And you're going to have a lot too. I mean, did you get multiple machines for one machine for each school? How'd you do that?
Right now, I only have one machine right now. We were using it for to do like side items and fruit, vegetables, those kind of things. And what we were doing them out of our central kitchen, and just basically bringing in let's say baked beans for the week. And we were doing just like baked beans and sealing them and then taking them back to the schools and dropping them off. And that way the meal pickup, they didn't have to worry about the cups. They were sealed in like a little container with a little plastic mat or film on top. They just peel off. So we're going to try the same thing with meals. It may work, it may not, but at least it will cut down on our waste, and hopefully it'll give those kids, instead of having to worry about so many different things, bagging it up, and
Right.
Hopefully it'll help maybe in the quality of the food we're sending out.
I didn't realize you had a central kitchen. Where did you locate it?
At the Allen Central High School building where we moved our office to. We're just using the old high school cafeteria.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I had been running my fresh fruit and vegetable program out of there, but where we've been virtual, I've not been able to do that. So we decided to switch gears and just, use that space to make our own fruit cups, to make our own vegetable cups, those kind of things.
Is that where you are? Is that why you're going to put the 7 outside freezers? Is to store those kinds of things? Because storage is a huge problem for us.
Yes, that's why I ordered the 7 freezers. I'm gonna put them at my elementaries, and hopefully that'll alleviate the issue of space. It'll also help alleviate the issue of when I have a freezer go down, of having to move it to another school, because most of them now will have 2 freezers on site.
I was just gonna share really quickly what our superintendent told us. I think it was last week on our central office meetings that we have, and he had told us that they had told them that next year that there would be no more virtual option per se, and that the only way that kids could do something like that was that they had to have special approval and a medical condition. And he had implied to us that if that happened, that those kids would be more like on home hospitals. So, we had kind of took it like that after this year that, we wouldn't have another virtual option, because I was thinking about it in terms of meals too, would this continue? And that's just what he shared with us last week. So I'm not sure if something had changed or maybe if I had missed something as well.
Well, my superintendent shared with us, and I don't know how they plan on doing this, Tabitha, because they said that they are planning a virtual high school, but at the same time, and I guess if we choose to do that, I don't know, but at the same time, he said that there would not be like all these just unlimited virtual days, and it would go back to the 10 NTI days, and at this point anyway, it would be business as usual for schools next year. And if we don't get a waiver, we can't feed our children virtually next year under NSLP as it stands anyway. So, that's what his and our conversation was. But I think Dale's idea is a really good idea. Even like for us at my district, if we're going to have a virtual high school, but we have to have some kind of waiver to let us feed them.
Yeah, that's what I hate, because our district never did what you say, NTI days before. So when all this switched to virtual this year, they're like, wow, we're feeding every day, but we had never done that because we had never done NTI. Our district never signed up for that. So it concerns me, in the future, if we do NTI days, like, other districts of you all that have done it, and then we're not able to provide meals because that's all we've done this year.
Traditional NTI, you cannot feed.
No, but
Right.
it was limited to 10 days though. So it wasn't like it'd be like snow days. The only thing would be it's the 10 days you couldn't make up. And originally our superintendent agreed to not do the full 10 the first year until we saw what kind of impact it was having on our program. And, and certainly there was a loss to us of potential profit, but also a loss to us because we still had payroll to meet. But it wasn't such a number that from then on they took their 10 days. And I don't, Reed Adkins is our superintendent. He's a really super to work with. He always considers the food service program, but it wasn't enough to cost to us that it would prevent him from taking that to keep school from having, to go out later. But if they do NTI days the way they did before, Tabitha, you can look at 10 days that you would have payroll and no potential to feed because the kids wouldn't have to make it up. And what our district allowed us to do, and you might have this conversation with your superintendent, is they allowed really myself as the director to make the determination on NTI days if my ladies worked or did not work. And so what I did was, if we had 3 or 4 NTI days in a row, there was nothing for them to do after the first day of a good cleaning. So we would use some of those days for good cleaning days, and then some days they wouldn't work and they would owe those days at the end of the year. And we would roll those over into the summer program, and that gave me workers for my summer meals because we have a real hard time keeping a full staff in the summer to do summer meals. You all may not have that issue.
Yeah, we've done that for years. They always know whatever they don't do during the year, because what's happened here in the past is sometimes they will add extra minutes onto the calendar, and the kids get out 8-10 days sometimes ahead of actual contract days being fulfilled. So it's right in their contract that whatever they don't have during the school year, they have to do the summer feeding. I have to about beg people to work. So if we didn't do that, we wouldn't even be able to do the summer feeding program.
You need to take the pairs on after you
I worry that, at the end of the school year, especially this year, that my staff is going to be so burnt out and they're not going to want to work. And, we're doing mailbox pickups here. And they pick up like crazy because even still with our kids going back 4 days a week, probably over half of our students, our enrollment are still on virtual. And, we're feeding for weekends too. And we're feeding kids that are not even enrolled in school, and our mailbox numbers are out the roof. I started the beginning of the school year thinking we were probably going to go broke to now having a big excess balance that I'm going to have to spend. So mailbox pickups and prepping all those mailboxes and all that and feeding kids in person, I think my staff, they're just going to be burnt out. So I really worry about just being able to cover summer just in general and actually having enough people to work to be able to feed the kids. So
I know that my people will do what they did last year. They worked, they did some extra weeks for me, even past the days they had to work. We had the same issue with time, added on to our day. And so even last year during the pandemic, they were just so killed with the switch over and working so hard. We did through June the 12th, and I just didn't have enough workers to do anything past that to cover our numbers. And so we quit serving meals June the 12th, and we started back August 1, and they took a 6-week break. And I know that I might be able to go through the end of June this year, but I know I won't get workers in July. And where my numbers are so big, I can't handle it. And I can't tell half the district, well, if you'll come on Tuesday, and the other half of the district, if you'll come on Friday, because what they want to do is they want to go on Tuesday and Friday to pick up their food. And I can't keep up with it at all these different sites. So, I just.
If I told my superintendent that, he would say, find a way to make it work, because we've always had to do right up till school starts. We've never been able to take a break. I've been here 16 years and they're like, find a way to make it work. So if it's bus drivers we have to train, or instructional assistants, or volunteers, especially with learning loss and all they're talking about, this year with the summer academic programs and things like that. My husband, he's like, don't think about it. And I'm like, well, it's already mid-March
Right.
and school's going to be out in 2 months. And how are we going to be able to do this?
Well, we will do the loss of learning time. I've like have already coordinated with the principals to get their schedule. But I think most of our schools are doing just so many weeks after school. And I think that most of them are not doing loss of learning in July, or at least the ones that have, communicated with me, which has only been 5 out of 18 so far. But it looks like what's in the works will be done by June. And so, I guess we just don't have the manpower. But when we did summer meals before, we always had to do them through the churches when they can't come and pick up for us, when they can't come and pick up like these, 5 days meals at a time or something. In the summer, I can open every site and I won't feed 10,000 kids all summer long. And to run buses, I don't know where I'd run them to. We don't have a lot of like gathering places, or, we don't have apartment complexes and places to go to. So mobile routes, and we don't even have a good place to congregate to eat where there's lots of homes kind of close together. So I just have never been able to be successful in planning a mobile route. And I've actually tried to work with even Family Resource. So I can't get workers. I have 6 kitchens right now who can barely make it because they don't have even a full staff right now. I don't know if you guys are having that problem. And I finally, in desperation, even put on Facebook public that we were taking applications for substitute cooks. And I thought, oh, it'll be terrible. So I said they had to call. And well, of course, they couldn't come in anyway right off. I said, just call and schedule an appointment for a phone interview. And then we would have them come in, if they sounded promising. I got 4 calls. Out of the 4 calls I got 1 worker.
I'm sorry, Lisa, but that's just a little funny. I'm sorry.
So something too is I'm listening to the conversation. If 2 things, one, if you need training and you guys can agree on what your food service staff needs, and you have additional days that they have to get in for their contract, if there's certain trainings that you'd like to have available, we'll try to make those trainings available here. Or if it's for new hires and there's certain trainings that you would want your new employees to go through prior to the upcoming school year, we'll try to provide those trainings not only here but also online for your staff members, if that would help you.
Well, welcome back. And we'd like to thank Sally for joining us now with GFS. So we'll see what Sally's got for us today.
So I'll send you all the slides after this. We won't do like a formal presentation. I just put together some slides. That way I could follow up and you could go back and look. Things I want to just talk about briefly, and then I want to kind of get into more discussion, is just to remind you, if you're not using the inventory resource that we have online, no charge. Out on these slides, you'll see the report that shows you, do you need help managing your cost of goods? And it'll show you an example of an inventory value report, how much money is on your shelves. Right now, that's more important more than ever, trying to use up inventory that you have. And it'll say, do you know, I'm just going to give you a couple screenshots of that report so that you can see that. So as a reminder, the inventory, when you first log in to gfs.com, don't go to online order and go to inventory report. You click there, and then that's where you'll kind of dig into it. I'm available to help train managers if you all want to do that. I can show you how to run the reporting, that kind of stuff. So if you need that or want some more information on it, just reach out to me. I would love to get out, I'm just saying.
That would be, I think I had used that. This year I've not. I'll be honest, my inventory is kind of just on a sheet of paper because of how this year's been, but I did use it in the past, but there was some questions and stuff. That might be a good training that we could do here one day.
Okay.
And if anybody had managers that wanted to come in and train, because I'd like to have some training on it too.
Okay, yeah,
That
so
would
we
be-
can plan that. I've done it both ways. I've done it at co-op meetings and just went over it with the directors and showed them how to do it, but I've also done it in a district at a computer lab or in a library and just have the managers actually have their latest inventory, because what happens is you have to set up your inventory sheet first. And that's what I'll walk through. And then at that point, you enter your accounts and you can start from there. So, and then the reporting, of course, you all can determine by district who's going to run what. The director's going to run it, the manager's going to run it, which ones do I run? So just remember that's out there. There's no cost to it. And so I threw a couple of slides in there just as a reminder and what that report looks like. Another thing is there's a staffing resource guide online. So it's called Staffing Resources page. So when you first go on to gfs.com, look for that staffing resource page. This slide that I'm going to send you has a link that will take you directly to that. And it's going to talk about like, I don't know, like it's just about how to retain staff, how to train your staff, those kind of things. So I just wanted to put this slide in there because of, you know, everybody's been working really, really hard for the past year. Another thing is we have updated our CACFP menus the NRC has. So if you're interested in seeing what those look like and you're using that program for your supper program or whatever it may be, snacks, then you would go under experience, under resources, and then it's under child and adult care food programs. The link will also be in these slides that I share out with the group after this. The NRC has also refreshed some of the food service training topics. Again, when you go under log in, don't go to online ordering, go to resources, and there it will say food service training topics. So for those that are looking for training maybe for the summer, for your staff, those are being refreshed. The certificates look a lot, they're updated and look newer and nicer and that kind of stuff. So those certificates of completion are great things to have in your employees' folders to show that they've done whatever specific training you have needed them to do. So any questions on any of those yet? Anybody?
On the trainings there, I know like sometimes we back had a couple of days that the staff, and we did some kind of let them do it at home, some online training. Is that something they could get on, or would we have to go in and set them up
No, they can get on it. So
Without-
your managers can actually go out there.
without the username and stuff, or
Yeah,
would they have to?
no, I mean, if they have their own username and password, they can go to resources and then they can go out there and do the training and say, hey, I did this. And then you can, if you want that certificate in their folder, then you can go ahead and do that. But they can go out there and do that themselves. So, and that's good because then you don't have to be in a group setting and you just, or you can assign them, I want you to do this one by this date, I want you to do this one by this date, and it doesn't cost you anything. No secret invoices, you're not going to get charged for it or anything like that, so it's just a value add. Here is, so my next topic is commodities. Now, we have a lot of brown box commodities in our warehouse, and I mean a lot. Now granted, we're in a pandemic, a lot of districts were using the meal kits and not using commodities. So, I mean, I've been talking with Larry Garrett off and on for weeks now. They've done some reallocation of product. Some of it was because the district said, I can't use the product. Some of it was because they had not used it since August. So Larry and they made an executive decision to say, I'm gonna pull this and I'm gonna give it to somebody else. So with that being said, Our goal at GFS is to have the brown box commodities out of our warehouse by the end of May the 31st. KDA is aware of that. We've had that discussion. I mean, is there a concern that you're not going to be able to use it by then? Because there's still more POs coming in the warehouse with brown box commodities. I asked Larry, is there a way to put them on hold? Is there something in the CARE Act or anything new that they could use, like a loophole, to kind of give you guys a break because of not being able to use a brown box? He said no. Once it's ordered, it's ordered. It's on purchase. There's nothing they can do about it. It's coming into our warehouse. So there's a couple of things. One, if you have any commodities, brown box specifically, that you can't use or you know you're not going to use, you can reach out to myself or Larry and say, hey, I can't use these. I'm not going to use them. Go ahead and reallocate it. He will find somebody that can take it. The other side of that coin is, hey, Larry, if somebody can't use such and such item, I'm looking for it. So if you have somebody that gives it up, let me know and we'll take all of it. Now, the thing is you're going to have storage for it too. So that's kind of where we are on the brown box. And the reason why I say that, because 2 weeks ago we were sitting on 5,000 cases of ground beef. That was one item in the freezer. Another item, for example, was a frozen broccoli. We had over 2,000 cases in our freezer. That's much like inventory sitting in our stock, sitting there. So Larry last week was in the process of reallocating again. So if you want on his list of districts that he reaches out to say, hey, I will take whatever extra brown box you get, shoot him an email, say, I'd be interested. If you have anything come up, I have the storage for it, then by all means do. They say that they've sent out resources on how you can use some of those items. And I mean, any comments, thoughts on the brown box? Like, how are you all feeling about it? Because it looks to me like there's not going to be an extension to use it. So if you're not going to use it by the end of May, are we going to have, right now, we're like, are we going to have to force ship at this point? Or plan B would be, there's a Jefferson County Schools district and they're their own entity. They're not part of one of the region bids. So can they take a bunch of stuff that the other districts can't take? So that's where we are. I'm just being transparent about what's discussion is going on behind the scenes. So if you're going to use it, but you're a little bit slow about using it, please let us know, let Larry know. If you're not going to use it, let us know, let Larry know, and we'll kind of work through those. But our goal is to have it out because we're already going to have trucks coming in July for the next school year for your brown box, and we got to make room for it.
I think the only thing, I think I've got pretty much, unless something new's come in, except, and I'm not going to be getting it because it was the pulled pork barbecue.
Yeah.
I've heard other districts in meetings talk about how good they liked it. I'm telling you, we put Sweet Baby Ray's on it and it's still.
Oh, was it bad?
The ones we got was. Other people have bragged on it, but I'm telling you, and it was a bonus, I mean.
Right.
And I took some, but when you opened it up, it looked like dog food.
Ooh.
And we put Sweet Baby, and so they were like, I'm like, because I can about eat anything, youngins, and so I was like, it can't be that bad. And they were like, it is. And I'm like, it can't be, girls. So I went in and I got me a fork spoonful. I spit it out.
Oh.
And that's what I said. If I can't eat something, it's bad.
So, and Larry that was one of the items that he was like, I don't understand why the districts aren't taking it. That could be it.
But now
I had not heard that feedback, so that's something.
But the one lady, I can't think of her name. Anyway, every meeting that I'm on, whenever that one training, or that Ellie does, and she's like, we've used so many boxes of that, and we're down to this so many cases. My kid, we just love it. And I'm thinking, if I got the same product you did, what are we doing? You know, why didn't?
Right.
But like I said, we didn't even.
Okay.
And I will be, and I don't know. I think I got 7 or 9 cases. I mean, not for
Yeah.
my district it's a lot, but for
Right.
somebody else, but.
Yeah.
So, you know, if somebody here in this meeting hears me say that and they love it, God bless you. And they wanted it, could we do a transfer and
Yes.
transfer that to them?
Yes,
Okay.
and I would just send that to Larry. I mean, your field rep, or your field rep, you can do either or, as long as Larry knows, because he's the one that's in charge of doing the reallocations.
Okay.
On the topic of commodities, talking about processed. Now, I heard that Garrett was on a KDC meeting last month. I wasn't on it. Are they going to sweep in July, or
Yes.
are they not going to sweep?
Yes, we're sweeping.
They are going to sweep. Okay, that I didn't know. So do you all feel the need to hurry up and use those products now because you haven't been using them and you're trying to figure out what you're going to use? Or are you just saying, here's my menu, I'm just going to stick with what I'm doing? I mean, what are you all doing? And I asked this, and the reason why I asked this is because if you're going to start punching large quantities of an item, we need some forecasting so we can make sure it's there, or you're not going to get it. And if we don't have an equivalent that uses the same material code, then that defeats the whole purpose. You're not going to be using the right pounds for the right product, kind of thing.
We're sticking with what we're doing right now.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, I'm going to use what I can. We're back, like we said, things that we had ordered because we had to do it so early last year that we didn't know we was going to be virtual. So you put all this money, and so it was stuff that it's more or less that we have to use in person for our in person. So they'll just have to sweep it, and I'll just lose it. I hate to lose a lot of it, but there's no way that I'm going to be able to use it all, and I'm not going to be able to get it in either. So.
Okay.
So we're just
I'm gonna lose a lot, like things that they told us that we couldn't get enough of, like through Pilgrims and stuff like that. So I probably have about 80,000 pounds of chicken left with them, and then just certain other things, because I do half and half. I usually process about half and brown box about half, and I usually don't do DOD. Because I get that fresh fruit all through the first part of the year, and then I don't get a lot in the winter because it perishes. But this year I did save out that carryover money for DOD, where they carried us over for things they canceled. So they canceled $79,000 worth of stuff on my account. But now I'm losing a lot of processing, and which I really think that based on, I did get to hear Garrick's conversation on that, Susan, and I think probably some of the others did too. But if I understood him correctly, and you all help me if I'm wrong, because it's easy to get confused on that, but I think that all those pounds are just where they usually keep it by the state, or just going back into a USDA bank. But I still think that we could have access to poundage if we need it. We're just going to have to ask for it. So like, for those of you maybe who might need it and you missed that call, I just think that when next year rolls around, you just need to ask Garrick for pounds, or the brokers that you deal with for specific companies, and let them help you. Because I think that the USDA is going to hand that back out, but it was too confusing to do it by state. At least that's the way I understood it.
Yeah, which is much what the conversation he and I had, like more towards the beginning of the year, was we'll probably do a sweep. However, a district can say, hey, do you have any cheese left? I'd like to divert to Bongards, because Land O'Lakes has had supply issues this school year, for instance. So, I mean, I think you're right. I just hadn't heard for sure if they're doing a sweep or not.
But they did say to go ahead and order what you thought you would need for next year.
Yeah.
To go ahead and process what they thought.
Yeah, and I processed the exact same amount, and it was hard when I sit there and looked at processing that 100,000 pounds of chicken when I had 80,000 pounds sitting there. But that's what I did too, Susan. I processed exactly what I processed last year, basically. And believe it or not, I went ahead and took my brown box just because I thought I had to. So I've got most of that out of your warehouse at this time, and I've tried to use it up. But it was my processing that I lost more on this year than I did on my brown box.
That's interesting. So Pilgrims discontinued a lot of items, and I know that we're looking at some Pilgrim items as possible replacements, but there's not really replacements. So for instance, if you're 80,000 pounds of chicken, it's all to Pilgrims. If they do a sweep, it's still chicken, right? So maybe you can switch it to a Tyson and put so many to a Tyson at that point versus going through the whole process of trying to get it changed now. But, I mean, Lisa, if you need it now, I mean, I would reach out to Garrick and say, hey, they discontinued all of these items. I need some chicken items and maybe find a Tyson one. Can you move my pounds over? And you might be able to use some of that before the end of the school year.
I really didn't think about that because Tyson is one of the products that we've been getting, a Tyson chicken patty.
Yeah.
And, but I had some dark meat that they just give me, but it doesn't show up as a commodity item. I'll do that. Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah. I would ask him to move it because I know we had some people that wanted to switch pounds from Land O'Lakes to Bongards because they couldn't get their Land O'Lakes. So they were purchasing it at the commercial bid price and not getting the discount. So they moved, some people moved, switched to Bongards. So it's possible. I know there's a process to it, but Garrick will know what to do and he'll be able to answer those questions. So, but the big key for me from a distributor perspective is if you're going to switch items or you're going to start using a whole bunch of a certain chicken item, just shoot myself or Ryan an email and say, I'm going to start using this item weekly, monthly, twice a month, or I'm only going to use it once, but it's going to be a large amount, just as much lead time as we can have to communicate that to logistics because, I mean, back in the day, 20 years ago, I've been doing this for almost 22 years, I think, 21 years. Back in the day, you just punched an order and it was there, but it's because you had all the safety stock. We don't have that anymore, especially during a pandemic. Ships are a little tighter. We're at risk of liquidation. We liquidated a lot of product this past summer and spring because of the pandemic, so we're a little tighter on the ship. So whatever you communicate, that's the key. It's just getting that to us. Even if it's just a guesstimate, we'll take it and run with it. So that's the big key there on that. That's what I wanted to kind of talk about. So the next thing I was just going to mention is, there are a lot of vendor supply issues. Land O'Lakes being one, Schwann's being another. There were some paper products, those kind of things. I try to send that out to everybody as I see those. So, I mean, are there any specific questions about any specific items or vendors that you're seeing or that maybe you haven't seen communication on? Are there concerns with that? I just want to kind of be able to answer those questions if there were any on those specifically. Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So the next topic is summer feeding 2021. So now as we're ramping. For us at a distributor, we are already preparing to ramp down for the school year. So I sent out a survey probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I said, are you going to do summer feeding? When's your last delivery date? How long is your summer feeding going to run? Well, I sent that out prior to the recent announcement of the waiver extension. So are you going to now do summer feeding because it's extended, or those kind of are the things that I'm kind of thinking in my head? Is everybody still going to do summer feeding, or are you saying my staff needs a break? I'm not going to do summer feeding. I'm going to let some other organization do it, or is everybody pretty much doing summer feeding? And if you're doing summer feeding, is it going to look like it did this past summer with the extension, with the waiver that got extended, or is it going to be very different? I just kind of want to get a feel for where we're at so we can kind of prepare. So, I mean, what are you all thinking? I've heard some say I'm not doing summer feeding because my staff need a break. But
at this point, I plan to do summer feeding. I've not really got into that conversation with my staff. Normally they work, I have some that want to work, but I've not had that conversation yet. But I am planning to carry on through summer what we've been doing.
So will it be like last summer, the same type of items, the same thing, because it's non-congregate, probably the same volume?
Yeah, kind of the same thing we're doing right now. You know what I'm saying? We still do a weekly bus route, and those items, do 7-day deliveries out on that bus.
Okay.
So, unless something changes and transportation says, no, I can't run a bus, but
Right.
I don't see that happening, but it may, we don't know.
Right.
Then that depends too on if our bus drivers, if I
Yeah,
can get a bus
do they have the
driver.
hours to work?
Well, they'll have some, and I can run them up, because our school's gonna go out this year, like May the 5th, 6th, something like that, so we're gonna be going out early. So I can, so they
Right.
usually have about 2 weeks they need to make up, and I usually run them up in through June, but this time they'll probably have their time in by May.
Yeah.
So it depends on, if they've got their time, but last year we just paid a bus driver.
Mhm.
Usually you have one that will agree to work.
Yeah.
We will be doing summer feeding all summer, from my understanding. Volume will be tremendously lower than last summer.
Longer than last summer, okay.
I'm guessing 25% of what we did last summer, because we're not running buses.
Okay, so you're not doing buses, yeah. So does anybody else have any input? Lisa,